Murdered by a Username, a short story written by Stephen Bagley. This story contains dialogue which may upset some readers, including violence, sexual violence, disturbing scenes and strong language, with two uses of very strong language. The day can be remembered so clearly. A vivid image of the sun shining, birds chirping from left to right, the clear blue sky poisoned by the sun, the hot air spinning around and round. I then remember the pain of my teeth falling out after every blow that landed on my face, the blood oozing down my face, the pain of the attack, so brutal, so graphic, losing my innocence in 1 single second. The date is August 2nd, 2018. The time is 4:22 PM, and this is the day that I die. My username is Mr. Pinto 2369. The day can be remembered so clearly. The engine of my car arguing and howling as I stroll down the road. The old 60 tunes from the radio almost fading into the background. The beautiful August sunshine partying with the clear, crisp blue sky. I then remember leaving my car, strolling down into the woods to then be rewarded in completing a violent, merciful attack. The blows I placed, the sheer boldness of my physical attack upon a helpless young individual. I knew what I was doing was just sheerly so wrong, yet the feeling I had just felt so sheerly right. The date is August 2nd, 2018. The time is 4:22 PM, and this is the day that I killed someone. My username is the account. Let's back up a bit. I mean, every single story has a beginning, and I think my story began here. I love technology, computers, creating accounts, discussing meaningless, pointless conversations with random people across the globe. I could describe myself as a loner, but then that would be harsh on myself. I just think that the power you have when you're in control of a keyboard and mouse is just electric. And in my younger days, I was all into the forums and interactive games you could play on a day-to-day basis, especially after a long and, frankly, harassing day at school. As I entered my older years, and as I never was exposed to the darker side of the internet, so my intrigue to the internet only grew, I made the conscious effort of trying internet dating. I'd been looking for a relationship for some time, and the internet gave me so many new options and so much happiness, so it made sense to combine the two and try my luck. First and foremost, Tinder was a no-go for me. Too many private parts being shoved down my throat. Too many uneasy and just fucking bizarre conversations. The site just unticked all of the boxes and just wasn't for me. Next I went on to plentyoffish.co.uk. And let's just say I felt like a fish who you have on a Friday night in front of the television watching Gogglebox. If you're a fish, then that's not where you want to be. My third and final attempt was the internet site Badoo. And actually the red flags disbanded and I could actually see some potential on Badoo. The day is July 26th, 2018. I create the account on Badoo, adding a fairly flattering photo of myself, a brief yet vivid description of myself, adding those tiny tags to my profile, explaining that I'm a procrastinator, a visionary, but nonetheless a nobody, somebody that you may want to drop off at a bus stop on a set day and never see again. I'm not anyone special, nor anyone bad. I just sort of exist, but I manage my day-to-day life and the world with a set uniqueness. Others call it weird, and basically people call me bloody strange, let's say. When it came to my username, I didn't want to use my standard first name and surname because, to tell you the truth, my name is meaningless, pointless and boring. As a side note, my father's prized possession is not me, not his wife, or even his cat of 9 years. His prized possession is his classic Ford Pinto car. And on this particular night, he was driving round a roundabout, and a car behind him clipped the back of his car. He arrived home, scathing with extreme anger, and his anger actually made me smile because the dent was tiny. This story was running around in my head, and then I created the username on my Badoo account of Mr. Pinto 2369. I was born on the 23rd day, and 69 as a number makes me laugh, so it's the username I created, and the username I died in. I've always been fascinated by children. Their bodies, the little smile, the cute way they move from side to side. After that, I imagined bashing a child's skull in, letting their brains spill onto the floor, while blood rushes out from every part of their body. I'd been planning to kill a child for a long, long time. I didn't just want to murder somebody. I wanted to rip them apart. It had to be perfect. I had to trick and then convince my victim that I was someone innocent, someone sexy maybe, someone with jokes, a clear idea and plan on their future, reflecting on their present moment and then discussing stories of the past. I wanted to build such a rapport with my victim. I had this fantastic idea of letting my victim fall in love with me and persuading them that I was in love with them. You were sitting there thinking, could I really let a child fall hook, line and sinker in love with me, only to then murder them in a violent and vicious way? Yes I could. Yes, I wanted to. And yes, I was going to. I have to confess that over the first few days upon scrolling over Badoo as Mr. Pinto 2369, the app was to all intents and purposes mostly underwhelming. I'm not really sure what I was aiming to find on this site. Was it love? Was it simply just a quick pity fuck? Or was I actually looking for some good human contact and to find somebody who understood me on a physical level, an emotional level, and even a spiritual level? Or was I just chatting endless bullshit? The girls I was matching with were actually dull and lifeless. I'll give you 3 examples of girls I matched with. One wanted to meet up with me after chatting for a few hours. I think she wanted to go to a pub or beach. I'm optimistic and could see some light coming from this situation. I was then informed by her that all she wanted to do on this date was to bite my lips off, suck my cock shortly and sweetly for a mere 7 seconds precisely, smoke some weed and then head home, but wanted me to remain silent the whole time. The other example was a girl who wanted the date to start mine in my bed and then she'd remain there for the next week in my fucking house. And after the week ended, she'd give me the results of this date. Apparently she wanted to test us to see if we were compatible. Guess what? We just weren't compatible. The final example was just a weird conversation which involved a baking tray, cookies, and certain specific parts of my body. You don't even want to know what I mean by that. No, honestly, you don't. This story is messed up, but that just goes beyond what I can say. That was 3 out of what I would say 25 matches I racked up within 3 days while still living the quirky day-to-day world we live in. My taste for murder involved younger children, but that's trickier to prey on. In my eyes, to isolate a younger child, you have to tackle obstacles such as parents and teachers and key adults which stand in your way. My target market leaned more towards older children. Children that had more freedom, or parents that think it's wise to let their children roam these tainted streets for endless hours. You lose several obstacles and it makes the job less demanding, but much more enjoyable if you target an older child. As a killer though, no child is just going to hand themselves over to you. So as I mentioned before, I needed a disguise and I needed a place where I could pretend to be someone on the other side of the tracks. A whole new fake human being with the best interests at heart, sugar masking someone with the worst interests at heart. I needed something like a site or a place where many older children come and look to meet new people which they've never met face to face, yet they feel strangely emotionally attached to a stranger. That's where internet dating comes into its own. And it's a killer's Christmas, birthday and every single party rolled into one. I just had to narrow down the choices and choose my website instrumentation. There was simply so many to choose from, and through stumbling and falling for an hour or so, I came across Badoo. Every internet dating site has prey, but also subsequently creates drawbacks. I needed an easy way into a site, and I needed to build up a strong verbal rapport online on a consistent basis to lure a child into thinking the very best, which will allow me to do the very worst. Some of these sites had a premium charge, which meant you had to pay constant money just to carry a conversation on. I didn't want to use the very popular sites like Facebook, Instagram and Snapchat because they were too well known and people get red flags on those websites right from the off. I wanted to steer clear from the really obvious websites and try a site a little more subtle. I chose Badoo because you could have multiple conversations with people without the charge involved. It suited my needs and my desires and was the foundation to begin the task of murdering a child. My account creation followed. I went with a fairly generic account. A young girl, not the most beautiful in regards to looks, but not unpleasant to look at. This girl had a strong mind on her, spoke well, had dreams of the well-paid job, the house, a few pets maybe even some children down the line. She didn't want to be a superstar. She didn't want huge fame or to be waited on by hand and by foot. She just wanted to live a good life, and she was slightly unique in the way she lived her day-to-day life. The account name I created was the account 01. I thought that would stand out because it's not normal, but it's not going to be picked out from a list of 10 names. The right one, a vulnerable person, Someone who's not normal, but not weird, would fall in love with the Count 01 within a few days. I joined Badoo on July 29th, 2018. July 30, 2018, I wake up and head onto my computer. Nothing exciting had taken place on Badoo, so I carried on surfing the internet and frankly entertained myself for a few hours. I think at this point, Badoo and the site in general had kept annoying me but intriguing me at the same time. I was so close to just removing my account and removing it from my life completely, but I thought I would have one last go in trying to match with someone, hoping someone would save me and change my day. Who knows, maybe my fucking life if they could. I then actually matched with somebody whose username for the very first time caught my eye. The account 01. The username caught my eye. It was just incredibly generic, but I got this vibe of this person being deliberately generic, and mild to moderate curiosity started to rise up the floors in me. In all honesty, her physical appearance wasn't model material, but I did have this initial physical attraction to the photographs she had put on her profile. I'm not a Zac Efron, so again I can't really comment or moan. Her profile raised more questions than answers, and as she didn't answer all basic questions you have when meeting someone new, she didn't reveal much upon first viewing. Yet I had in my brain started to construct almost a character profile of her, and had this strange tight feeling inside me, and my friend inside my head was saying, "Go on, message her." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I proceeded with caution, clicking the message button on Badoo, and it took all of my strength, bravery and strong courage, no matter how fucking sad that fucking seems, to simply type a mere "Hey." Should it be hello, or higher, or what's up? I pondered. All these thoughts rushed around in my head, and it was just as I was contemplating my first message, a notification dinged on my computer, and a message stood shoulders firm in front of me. The message came from the account 01. Badoo chat, July 30th, 2018, 10:47am. 10:47am. The account 01 writes, "Hello there, how's it going?" 10:48am. Mr. Pinto, 2369 writes, "Morning, good, I suppose." I went with a fucking morning salutation, and good, I suppose. If there was an award for worst first line to a new person, I think I would grab that award and win it every single shitty day. 10:49am. The account 01 writes, "Good to hear. I'm so annoyed with the amount of useless conversations I'm having with weirdos. I was so tempted just to close the app down and move on to something else, lol." Using lol was important. It heightened the connotation that I was a younger, although intelligent person. It created the first part of the rapport, and so began my quest for murder. 10:49am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, "No way, I was literally just thinking the exact same thing. I cannot stand many more private parts being sent to me, or bizarre requests coming through. Seems you're my saving grace." 10:51am. The account 01 writes, "I'm glad, and hopefully I can save you then. Your username intrigued me. Do you drive a Pinto car or something?" 10:53am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, "Oh, my username? Yeah, my father drives a Pinto Ford. It's his second car and a classic, but this is his prized possession. The car overtakes his love of me, my mother and our cat. When I created the account, some idiot clapped the back of his car ever so slightly, and he came home scathing with rage, and that story makes me laugh. Plus I wanted a username which made me more unique. I was born on the 23rd day, and I was like the number 69, hee hee." 10:55am. The account 01 writes, "Oh right, I see. The name definitely stands out, and there are so many idiot drivers out there. Has your dad calmed down since that attack on his love of his life took place?" 10:56am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, "Oh yeah, he's calmer today. He's a pressurised guy with his job, so certain explosions of anger are part of his day-to-day life." 10:57am. The account 01 writes, "May I ask what his job entails?" 10:58am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, "Yeah, he's a detective for the Metropolitan Police. He's been a top detective coming up now for 25 years. While we're on the subject of parents, my mother is a tailor, and as a random comment, I'm loving life at school, 11am. The account 01 writes, "Oh cool. That job must be so dangerous and crazy but amazing because he's saving people's lives and committing justice every single day. Your mum's job sounds cool, and I'm sure you love school deep down, haha." 11:01am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, "Yeah, school is fun. Deep down in my conscience I enjoy it." I guess. What about you? What do your parents do, if I can ask? 11:04am. The account 01 writes, well, my mum is a banker, working in a branch down on our local high street. I don't know my dad. He left when I was just a few weeks old, so it's just me and my mum, as I'm an only child. I also live, love and breathe school. 11:06am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, oh shit, I'm so sorry to hear that. That must be so tough for you. My mother and father have gone through rocky patches over the years, and I'm also an only child, so I can relate on that. The first 17 years of my life have been very up and down. 11:08am. The account 01 writes, yeah, it's tough, but you get through it, and I think it makes you a stronger person. I'm also 17. Can I just say, for a 17-year-old, you talk at times like you're 1, but other times you talk like you're in your 40s, haha. 11:09am. Mr. Pinto 2369 writes, oh no, I am 17, I promise. I have moments where my vocabulary style changes. It's not the first time I've been told that. We'd been chatting for no more than 20 minutes. 17 minutes to be precise. And I already had this feeling that I knew this girl for way longer than 17 minutes. I didn't want her to think that I was a fake account or one of those sickos that use social media as a way of committing horrendous crimes. I sent the account 01 a video clip of me talking, putting on this ludicrous and fairly racist accent amongst a series of offensive impressions. From that point on, we spent all of July 30th 2018 and July 31st 2018 literally talking from sunrise all the way to after sunset. I found out all about the account 01 life, from her hobbies to her dreams. I encountered stories about her past, from bullying issues in school to the close bond she has with her mother. I then responded with tales of my issues at school, my views on life, death, the beginning, the end, religion, politics, and we really started to build such a strong and intense rapport over 2 whole days. It was staggering. I trusted her so quickly. Talking to her felt so natural and free, and the feeling that came to me was almost like we were tied together by a single rope, which was tightening every hour. And every hour the rope tightened, we became closer and closer and closer. Our music taste and style was so close. She drove a hand-me-down Ford car. She had keen interest in the same specific style of movies, television programmes and music that I shared. To me, it was almost like she was me if I was a female. I told her early on that I wasn't a fan of talking on the telephone or on video chat, and she wasn't a big fan either. Yet she still asked if she wanted me to call her, which I found sweet because to me it showed me that she was trying to make an impact on me or to do something out of her comfort zone, just for me. Sometimes in life something just feels so right and you just go along with it because it feels good and it feels right. This was one of those times. August 1st, 2018. I hadn't heard anything from the account 01 on the morning of August 1st, 2018. In fact, I'd hardly been on my computer all day. One day a week we had this family morning. My father was off work in the morning and my mother wasn't working until late. August 1st, 2018 was a Wednesday. So we had breakfast and just pigged out in front of the television. My parents never really asked me about my social life or what I did on the computer. I guess they just assumed that they could trust me and didn't really consider what I was doing. I have to confess, and this sounds incredibly ridiculous, but the only thought running around in my head was the account 01. You're sitting there reading this and thinking, how can you fall for someone in 2 days? But I have to confess that I did, in 2 whole days. I can't explain it because it's an unexplainable feeling. The evening of August 1st, 2018 came around and I thought to myself, it's time to move this part of the story onto the next phase. Life is about taking risks at times and I was ready to be bold and to be brave. I wanted to meet the account 01 and I wanted to meet them now. I logged on to Badoo, went on to our chat history. At this point we had sent over 100 messages and I'd sent 12 video clips to the account 01 over 2 days. Went on to current chat and messaged the account 01. We changed our nicknames to our actual first names. Her name, Cindy. My name, Owen Jr. Side note, my father's Owen Sr, so I get the junior title. Badoo chat, August 1st, 2018, 9:16pm. 9:16pm, Owen Jr writes, hi Cindy, how's things with you this evening? 9:18pm, Cindy writes, hey cutie, it's been busy today. I went down to my mum's shop and helped with some invoices. How's your day been? 9:19pm, Owen Jr writes, oh nice. Yeah, I had my routine family day with my mother and father. We just peeked out to Netflix in front of the telly for most of the day. I then played some Xbox before messaging a very beautiful girl, 9:20 PM. Cindy writes, "Are you talking to someone else? Unbelievable behaviour, if I may say. Hee. 9:20 PM. I'm in Junior writes, "Oh babe, don't be daft. In fact, you're the only reason I'm smiling right now." 9:22 PM. Cindy writes, "Ah, baby. Right from our first conversation, I wanted to make an impression on you, and I can openly say you've done the exact same for me." 9:23 PM. I'm in Junior writes, "I'm so glad you feel the same. You know, Cindy, I know we've only been speaking for a few days. 3 days actually. But I've got this feeling and this connection to you that I cannot explain. I want to meet you, face to face, and I want to meet you now." That last message was the first time I became actually scared. I was afraid in being so upfront with Cindy, and essentially being direct in what I wanted. But that message had taken me the last 3 days to compose. I had this feeling very early on from messaging the account 01 that she was gifted and talented. And once I found out that she was Cindy, that sealed the deal for me. I just had to meet her. 9:26 PM. Cindy writes, "God, I'm in Junior. I did not expect you to ask me that, truth be told. I was hoping to ask you that exact question, but I keep being afraid to ask, as I don't know what the answer will be. Yeah, of course we should meet. When would you like to meet up?" Fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. That worked. That actually fucking worked. One simple question, and her answer is that she wants to meet. You know in that Simpsons episode when, oh shit, what's her name? Oh, Jessica Lovejoy asked Bart to go on that date with her, and Bart says, "There's only one thing to do in a moment like this. Strut." He struts down the road to Staying Alive by the Bee Gees from the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Essentially, guys and girls, this was me, strutting up and down my room for 5 whole minutes in sheer ecstasy. 9:31 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "That's brilliant, Cindy. I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Why don't we meet up tomorrow?" 9:32 PM. Cindy writes, "Yeah, I'm free tomorrow. So Owen Jr., are you asking me on a date?" 9:33 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "Do you want a date with me?" 9:34 PM. Cindy writes, Yes, I do." 9:35 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "It's a date then. I'm not sure where to go, but say we go for a meal or something. I will pay because it's a man's duty to pay on the first date." 9:36 PM. Cindy writes, "Ah, so you're a gentleman as well as sexy. I guess I'll be driver, 9:37 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "Sounds like a plan, but what should we do and where should we go?" 9:40 PM. Cindy writes, "Okay, had a thought. Well, you know the beach off the main road? Why don't we meet there? I will pick you up from the beach car park and we can go anywhere or stay at the beach. Let's be spontaneous and let's see where the day and the night takes us. I'll meet you there for 4:30 precisely tomorrow afternoon at the beach, if that's okay." 9:41 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "That sounds perfect. I will see you then." 9:42 PM. Cindy writes, "Okay, great. I'm very excited to meet you and hopefully it will be a great day. I need to tell my mother, so I'll message you a little later on. Thank you for making me so happy tonight and I'm pure buzzing for tomorrow." 9:43 PM. Owen Jr. writes, "Okay babe, talk later and thank you also." 9:43 PM. Cindy signs off with kisses. It had taken me 3 days. Just 3 whole days, not only to build a rapport with Owen Jr., but Owen had fallen in love with me and initiated the meetup with me. Owen Jr. put the grenade into the mix and all I had to do was to detonate it. It was so easy. Too easy. I could easily kidnap and murder Owen Jr. now, in the most violent and most brutal way possible. I had him right where I wanted him, if I really was a sadistic child murderer. But Owen Jr. was not the centrepiece of my murder, but the centrepiece of a Metropolitan Police experiment. My name is Owen Senior Roberts, and my username is the account 01, also known as Cindy. I am the account 01, and I am Cindy. I've worked for the Metropolitan Police for 25 years come December 2018. I started out as a DC before moving into child protection and being part of the child protection unit. Our office is slightly different than just protecting young children out there, although that's usually what we do 95% of the time. We specialise in safeguarding young children online and ensuring that internet predators and criminals can be traced while they're committing their acts and stopped before they harm any children. In the past we pretended to be children and we've lured several predators into meeting points. These predators thought they were going to meet a young child with the plan of abusing them, and instead of that, they were greeted by us. I've been part of the team for the last 8 years, and in that time, at least 100 predators, give or take, have either been traced or caught because of us. When predator cases and online internet crimes are not being carried out, we focus on general child protection issues. My latest case was something that my boss asked me to carry out, which when we were sitting in the meeting and he told me what he wanted to do, it made me recoil in my seat. I was slightly shocked and slightly scared for the first time in my career upon what I had to carry out. We had created a test called Murdered by a Username. This experiment was to highlight to all youngsters and parents the dangers of social media, particularly internet dating, and our plan was to create the monster character who wanted to lure a child in order to murder them, and we would actually lure a child into a place, meet up with them, but the twist would be that when they meet the supposed internet character they had spoken to, they would meet us instead. The other side twist to this, my boss just gave me 3 days to start talking to a child and to meet up with them. And this had to be within 3 days to stress just how quickly and how easily you could put yourself in danger. The experiment consisted of 3 phases. Phase 1 was character creation, Phase 2 was communication, and Phase 3 was physical intervention. I went away and wrote up this character's profile, which became the account 01, also known as Cindy. I knew I'd make a great child killer and predator because I've gone face to face with real life monsters for a long time. I had to make the character as dark and as twisted as possible. I chose Badoo as my website, and everything you read above surrounding the account 01 came all from me. Those were my words, and this was me in disguise, trying to disguise a child for the right reasons, despite having the worst intentions in my head. This was a messed up plan, but it was important. It was all for the greater good of children. Plus, we conducted the experiment with Badoo's Help Themselves, multiple medical and additional child services teams. We ensured that this was safe, and in theory, it was the perfect plan, despite being something we'd never tried before. We'd pretended to be a child in the past, but not the predator. Now, you may have already guessed this, but in a surprising turn of events, our experiment revolved around Mr. Pinto 2369, also known as Owen Jr., who also is my son. When I saw that username, it intrigued me because my big bundle of joy is my Ford Pinto car. The first few messages, I had no idea that it was my son who was on the other side of the computer. But as soon as I found out the answer as to why this child created that username, I knew that it was Owen Jr. I was dumbfounded, speechless if I'm honest. I could not believe that my son was on here, and I've never had any worries about him using the internet. I know he loves the internet, but it actually made me laugh because of how easy it was to lure him in 3 days. Owen Jr. made the easiest mistakes, which were just textbook. He never asked me for verification on who I was and if I was genuine. In fact, he was the one who proved to me who he was because he thought Cindy might not have believed who he was in the first place. There's an argument to be made as due to him being my son, I know what he likes and I have all of that information, but I didn't do that. That would have raised a red flag in Owen Jr.'s eyes. He's stupid but not an idiot. I drip fed him over 3 days. The username was my door unlocked, as I got lucky saying that I was going to delete the application and he was feeling the exact same. So there was an instant match right from the off. This already creates a rapport, but I found out what he likes and then matched a very similar model which adds to the feeling of connection. Owen Jr. was right about forming a close connection with someone in such a short space of time and with someone you've not met face to face. Short story, I met my wife on an internet dating site, and actually within an hour of us communicating, I'd asked her on a date, and we've been married 10 years. We had this initial spark that I cannot explain, but I made sure I knew that she was real before meeting her. I completed those checks because even in the early 2000s, stranger danger was there. It wasn't as bad then, and the emphasis was more onto children rather than adults. As a side note, sadly, Owen Jr.'s mother was raped and gave birth to Owen Jr. that way. I'm Owen's stepfather, but I am his dad, and we changed his name to Owen Jr. about 5 years ago because June, my wife, called her child Owen by sheer coincidence before we met. Owen Jr. never told Cindy that. Actually, that was one of the few things he kept to himself. I suppose that's something. It was just so easy. I had Owen Jr. exactly where I wanted him. The beach at 4:30 PM, after just 4 days of messaging him, sending I think 250 messages at most. He asked me to meet, and again opened the door for me to just walk straight through. Owen Jr. had no idea what kind of danger he was in, and just how silly he had been. All he needed to do was to check and find out that Cindy was actually a real person before meeting her. That thought never ever crossed his mind. There was yet another point of discussion, as this was a family member I was involved with. It was controversial to say the least, and my boss called me into the office and asked if I wanted to carry this on because it was my son. I said yes, of course, because I wanted to teach my son and all children a real lesson, and use Owen Jr. as a harsh reminder to all young people, showcasing the dangers of social media and the internet. In the 3 days, including the family day we had on the day before Cindy met Owen Jr., I never ever let on to Owen Jr. what was going on, or even asked him about his pastime on the computer. But I did check the computer to ensure that it was him, and of course it was him. After 3 days of communicating and setting up phase 1 and 2, it was time for the third and final phase of the experiment, physical intervention, and it was time for Cindy to meet Owen Jr. August 2nd, 2018. Some mornings you wake up and the sun behind the clouds, guilt and in fear as the day begins, in darkness, and the dark energy takes hold of everything around it. But there are some days when you awake where the sun seems brighter, the birds are louder, and the dark energy has diminished. This was one of those mornings. There'd not been a more exciting morning for myself in years. I was just pure buzzing for this day. It was like the little things. I awoke to this feeling of a tiny knot laying in my stomach, and as every hour passed, as I grew closer and closer to meeting Cindy, the knot felt tighter and tighter and tighter. This day felt special. I felt that this was the day my life would change, and this day seemed so important. I had such a great feeling about it. My parents noticed the change of style in me, the way that I was. My mother commented saying that I looked brighter and sharper, whereas my father didn't say too much. He just questioned my plans. My mother left early that morning and didn't ask me any plans. She just engaged in a quick dialogue about my overall manner before flying out the door. You see, my father being a detective, I didn't really want to tell him I was meeting a stranger. The conversation would have turned from conversation into interrogation, and I was feeling so fucking high that nothing was going to bring me down. I casually told him that I was meeting some friends, and he just agreed with my quote and then continued relaxing, heading off to work around an hour and a half later. Badoo conversation, August 2nd, 2018, 2:05pm. 2:05pm, Owen Jr. writes, "Hey babe, I'm just showering and getting dressed. I'm leaving mine at 3:30, more or less, and it's just about an hour walk to the beach. The weather is glorious and I've got my tunes with me, so I'll meet you down there." 2:07pm, Cindy writes, "Okay, great, see you there. 4:30 at the car park, on the right hand side of the beach as you walk in." That message above was the last message Cindy sent me, and the message just above that was the last text I sent to Cindy, and the last ever text I sent. August 2nd, 2018, and the clock is spinning ever closer to 3:30. I'm showered, hairstyle back, which makes a fucking change for me. I wore this blue and red line polo shirt, jorts, which is my lovely concoction of merging jeans and shorts together, blue trainers and my shades. I had this one single moment of rare cockiness because as I looked in the mirror, just about to head out, I sat there and muttered to my own inner voice, saying, yeah, I would fuck me. I left the house and started my 56-minute walk to the beach off Main Road. The weather was delightful, glorious August weather, and the journey itself is fairly straight. Taking a few left and rights here and there for the first 45 minutes, and then I would take a shortcut into the woods, move straight down the pathway, and then take either a right or a left. Well, one of those leads you into the bank, which I would then run up and take a few further steps before standing in front of the beach. I would be minutes away from meeting Cindy. August 2nd, 2018, and it's 4:15pm. The day can be remembered so clearly. A vivid image of the sun shining, birds chirping from left to right, the clear blue sky poisoned by the sun, the hot air spinning round and round. As I walked down the pathway, surrounded by extended trees left and right, I noticed behind me a car, which comes down briskly and swiftly. I hear a door open, and then I feel presence on my shoulder, without having the chance to turn. In 1 second I see trees, the next second I'm on the floor, and this is where pain begins, and my life is about to end. For the record, I didn't want to kill anyone. I'm not just some insane cunt who goes around killing people. This was more a one-off, something I simply had to do. I just wanted to justify that from the fucking off. But allow me to introduce my fucking self and explain myself. My username is The Account, and on August 2nd, 2018, I murdered someone. Let's call it a gang crime, or a youth attack, or a child killing a child. Fucking hell, I've not used the word gang since 2006 or some shit like that. I'm part of a small group. There's fucking what, like 8 of us bastards? We created a secret forum room on the dark web, which started with my brother. He's the leader of this fucking game, and he just managed to wrap me in about 3 years ago. His username is the King, and there are 7 account usernames. I'm the first account, and then you have account 2 to 7. Every single one of us has a unique trait. My brother is the mad but clever and firm leader. I'm the rational but deadly one. Account 2 is a sex maniac. Account 3 is a dirty poker player with some Harry Potter hacks or something fucking trippy. Account 4 is a weird, well, I think he's a fucking nonce, but it was never proven, like a background account. Account 5 is a rich businessman with an edge. Account 6 is welcomed as our nerd, big on the maths and science of our work, and actually, although I would happily stab most nerds in their limp sexist prick, Account 6 is actually pretty fucking cool. And last but by no means least, we have Account 7, our cray account, a total fucking psycho. That's all we know about each other. We know very little, but that makes our games much better. Our aim is simple, to create long-term chaos and short-term disruption. Every week we choose an aspect from the dark web. This could be distributing local drugs like LSD, or something even more fucking extreme, like crack or heroin if we get really lucky. Other notable works we've done is selling dodgy gear, selling low to high class weapons, or tricking someone into total humiliation by pretending to offer them a service which can be found on the dark web, and then using that information against them. We've stepped up our game over the last few years, and we don't spend too long deciding. It's a quick chat about which area of the dark web we want to recreate. We all then assign a specific agent account to the task, and then we fuck together and put the plan into action. That specific agent account goes out into the real world, completes the task assigned to them, films the experiment, and then returns, to which we review the task and then do it all over again. We are locked away in the dark web, so it's all encrypted, and after 4 years, we've never been traced. A few successful missions was Account 3 earning just under 100k from a hobo who wanted oral sex in exchange for some authentic poker chips imported from Vegas, worth apparently 3 times the price the hobo agreed on originally. He used his family money to set this up, and we managed to clear his entire family savings and heritage. The chips were meaningless and worthless, but the dark web allowed us to get quick money, and we made use of a useless fucking hobo with poor fucking family values. Account 4 had kidnapped and had his first sexual experience with a young lady, highlighting my nonce feel towards him. Account 5 and Account 6 got involved with a drug cult, which we overturned, and Account 7 had a taste for more peculiar desires, and we managed to set up a mini torture party for Account 7 with an unlucky fucking chap. In 4 years, we've never killed anyone, because there's a limit to what we do. We've committed some bad crimes, but murder has always been off the cards. We had some clear rules to follow, and we all agreed that we would only kill if we found ourselves in a kill or be killed Pulp Fiction shootout situation. I know what the fuck you're thinking of right now. Why the fuck would someone do this? Well, I can't answer that question, sweetie pie, because I don't know why we did. However, I guess it was more fun being monsters and creating monsters. Monsters are fun, and it just brought me simple joy. We found it fun, and we all turned into vile human beings, and I fucking loved every single second of it. Our rules to murder suddenly changed in our most recent assignment. The King reassigned us, and the discussion on the table was murder. I'm thrown to the ground. The initial kicks to my back feel like sharp needles being quickly put onto me and then ripped off like wax strips. I'm thrown from my back onto my back, and the blows start to land heavy on my face. I then remember the pain of my teeth falling out after every blow that landed on my face. The blood oozing down my face. The pain of the attack. So brutal. So graphic. Losing my innocence in 1 single second. I don't remember feeling any sharp object landing on my body. I just kept getting whacked. Over and over and over again. The sun became so bright and started to move so close to me before running away. My head became like a bowling pin, which just keeps getting knocked down by a ball. With so much power, so much aggression, and so much rage. I didn't say one word. I didn't get the opportunity to look my killer in the eye, or plead with him to stop. I saw blood rush onto the left side of the grass beneath me, and my teeth started to form a queue on the right hand side of the grass. He just kept whacking my head and never stopped. I feel pain for the final time. I taste terror for the final time, and in 4 minutes or so, I believe the time is 4:22 PM, and all my feelings fade, Everything goes to black. I think I'm gone. At only 17 years of age, my life has ended. I'm dead. I've been murdered. Dark web chat. Encrypted. Date and time to be confirmed. The king writes, "Fuckers. It's time for our next mission. It's time to raise our game, and I want one of you to play the ultimate game." The account writes, "And which game is this?" The king writes, "Something on the Orient Express. Something which involves blood. Taking someone's final breath. The joyous word which we all like to call murder. I want one of you to kill someone." The account writes, "Are you fucking serious? I always thought murder was off the cards. Are you 100% legitimate?" The king writes, "By fuck I'm fucking serious. We've spent the last 4 years committing mild to moderate acts of anarchy, but those high enforced police cunts have never ever traced us or even want to trace us, and it's about high time they are brought to our attention, and I want to show them the ultimate game we can play." The account writes, "They have never ever traced us because we're locked away on the dark web, and we play in the underworld in which the police look the other way. Are you sure you want to raise this and play this game?" The king writes, "Yes, yes I fucking am. The dark web has several examples of murder. It's the only thing that's eluded us, and I reckon we can pull it off and get away with this." The account writes, "And what do the other accounts make of this?" The king writes, "Forget the other accounts. I'm assigning you to this job." The account, "I'm nominating you to play this game." The account writes, "Me?" The king writes, "Yes, you. I want you to carry this out. Please follow my instructions below." The king writes, "You need to plan your route carefully. You must attack someone in a location stripped of camera and footage. You must not use any weapons of any kind, and you must murder someone using human touch alone. You have 7 days to prepare and execute this. You must photograph the result for us to review. Failure to comply will result in punishment. Please respond with your virtual consent." The account writes, "I agree." The king writes, "Good. King out." That was it. We don't beat around the fucking bush in these meetings. Honestly, it's a quick discussion. The king thinks of a mission, assigns an agent, lays out instructions. The agent must verbally consent with saying the phrase "I agree," and then the mission begins. I suppose I could have had a chat with my brother in real life, as A, I was so shocked that he appointed me to commit this game, and B, why no other fucking account joined in the conversation. C was also a thought of why the king told me to forget all other agents when he conjured up this ludicrous idea. We made a pact though. We never discussed this group in the real world. Our only communications would happen on the dark web. And then when we saw each other face to face, we never ever mentioned anything. It's been like that for the last 4 fucking years. Perhaps my brother was testing me, seeing if I could commit murder and follow the ultimate instruction. Did he trust me? Was he testing me? Who fucking knew? But this was such a big moment for me, and I only had 7 fucking days to do it. This wasn't a lie, as I had to really question if I had the physical feeling, mental edge, and if I had the urge to end somebody's life. This wasn't just a low-level crime, or even calling minor chaos. This was the ultimate crime. Could I really end someone's life? An innocent person who is just going through the day-to-day trials and tribulations of life. Could I really do this? I couldn't use a weapon, so I'd use my bare hands, which made the request even more vicious and thought-fucking-provoking. The thing that I really had to get my head around was the point of killing someone for no reason. There was no motive, no reason. I was killing someone for the sole sake of killing someone, almost as if it was fun. I was toying with the idea for a good 3-4 days at most, and although I was scared, I couldn't back down. I had to follow this request, and I had to kill someone. The actual execution of this was not going to be difficult. I had chosen the woods as my point of kill. There were no cameras, not many people, few witnesses, and I had gloves and extra protection to avoid fucking DNA traces. My plan was to travel down to the woods, find some innocent walking down the path, jump on them in surprise before beating them to a fucking pulp, resulting in their death, and then fleeing the scene driving home. It was a Thursday, August 2nd, 2018. The day can be remembered so clearly. The engine of my car arguing and howling as I strolled down the road. The old 60 tunes from the radio almost fading into the background. The beautiful August sunshine, partying with the clear crisp blue sky. I then remember leaving my car, strolling down into the woods, to then be rewarded in completing a violent, merciful attack. The blows I placed, the sheer boldness of my physical attack upon a helpless young individual. I knew what I was doing was just sheerly so wrong, yet the feeling I had just felt so sheerly right. As I had left my car, I ran up to this small, tainted kid, strolling down the path of the woods. He didn't know my name. He didn't even know me. And yet as I was taking his last breath, making him bleed all over the floor and brutally beating him, I felt so much power and control. This power and control consumed me. I felt so turned on, so brave and so proud. All these feelings built up inside me, and as these feelings grew stronger, my anger and attack became stronger. I would say that I was attacking this fucker for about 6-7 minutes. He then laid on the ground, lifeless, still, and dead. This motherfucker was definitely dead. I then had some time to kill before fleeing, so I had some fun with the body before taking a photograph of the evidence, running back to my car and fleeing the scene. That was it. That was that. Mission complete. Did I feel anything towards this child that I just brutally murdered? No. I didn't feel a fucking thing. I actually wanted to do this again. I was just imagining killing someone again. I had this authentic taste. But I knew I had to go back to review and I had to follow the rules. I just kept laughing at the fact that I just killed someone. This moment and thing that I had just completed felt so fucking great. 4:30 PM. We're at the beach. We keep waiting at the beach. And I'm anxious, awaiting the arrival of Owen Jr. Owen Jr. surprised me because I would have assumed that he would have been very early, having the pure excitement he had with meeting Cindy. I would have predicted him being there an hour or two early. The time we agreed passed and there was still no sign of him. 4:35 PM, 4:40 PM, 4:45 PM, 4:50 PM. These times passed and there was still no sign of Owen Jr. I proceeded with caution and I sent a series of texts in an attempt to contact him. August 2nd, 2018, text message. 4:52, Cindy writes, "Babe, you okay? Where are you?" 4:53 PM, Cindy writes, "I'm starting to freak out. Has something happened?" 4:55 PM, Cindy writes, "Owen? Owen?" By 5 PM, my caution has delivered into panic. There's this phrase that every parent always knows when something has happened to their child, and my gut was swimming in flames. I just knew something was off. The air had changed, the sun felt less extreme, and I felt like there was a cold storm brewing. At this point, although I am panicking, this was not a police emergency. Sure, if Owen Jr. became missing for multiple hours, days moving into weeks, then that changes everything. But Owen Jr. was 30 minutes late for a meeting. You would have been laughed out of the station if you declared this as a police matter. I informed my partner, Dave Chapman, my closest friend and second in command, who has worked with me for the last 5 years. He's a rising officer with the potential to become a fantastic boss one day. Essentially, I told him my concerns and he agreed to help me in trying to locate Owen Jr. This would be easy because I knew the route Owen Jr. took. The first place my head took me to was the woods. I knew that you could cut through the woods to get onto the front side of the beach. I knew that Owen Jr. knew this piece of information, and this led me into the woods. We entered the woods and did some initial looking around. Dave went down the path first. I was placed just behind with a prime view of the path ahead. Dave began the journey down the path. Dave took 10 to 15 steps at most. Dave froze on his 16th step. He looked solely and calmly to his right. He then never looked back at me and fired with speed and aggression to a tree on the right side. I then picked up speed, and from this point, the picture that greeted me when I came to the tree is an image that I will never ever forget from now until the day I leave this mortal coil. I found Owen Jr. My son was bruised, bloody, beaten and dead. He was left broken and ripped at the side of a tree, blood painted all over the bottom of the tree and all over him. His teeth and additional parts of his body, of his bones, all laid either side of him. My son was dead. My son was murdered. And you know what cemented my broken heart? The fact that Owen Jr.'s death was all my fault. I was responsible for his death. This was on me. This was all on me. Metropolitan Police Statement, August 4th, 2018, announced by Dave Chapman. We can confirm that the body of a 17-year-old male was discovered on Thursday, August 2nd, 2018 at 5:12 PM. We can identify this body as Owen Jr. Roberts, born August 10th, 2000. Owen Jr. Roberts was found with multiple blows to the head, teeth extracted due to the extreme force of the blows landed. His eyes had swollen, with the left eye expanding to the point of bursting, combined with additional extreme trauma to the body. We believe that he sustained at least 20 to 25 blows during this short but brutal attack. 4 of these blows we classify as being fatal on their own. His cause of death has been identified as multiple and extensive blows to the head. Sadly, we also have sufficient evidence to state that Owen Jr. Roberts was raped and this sexual assault took place after the victim had been murdered. We have no current leads or witnesses at this present moment. The killer is still very much at large. So that's it. The black abyss surrounds me. 17 years of life has come to an abrupt and painful end. Death has no feelings. Death has no beginning, no height and middle, and it's never ending. In life you can see and feel a journey. We are created and brought into this place, which is the start of our tale. Life has a whole lot of middle going on, and then you go through the end. My God, life is such a waste. When I look back on my life, I spent most of the time behind a screen, using words and stories to interact with the world around me. Did the internet murder me? Maybe so. Maybe I simply was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe my time was right there, right now, and a book was opened. The page was turned, and on that page, my name was printed. This meant that it was my time to die. When I look back on my life, I didn't achieve anything great. I didn't make a difference. I never loved, I never lost, I never gained, and I never found. What was my purpose in life? This purpose was never found, and my life has been lost. I wonder if my purpose was going to begin once I met Cindy. Maybe I had to meet her, and then my life would begin. The good parts of life. The happy thoughts, the happy times. Those random, weird and cute conversations. The drinks flowing, the sex flying high. The cuddles, kisses and warmth being felt each and every day. The feeling of love, the feeling of joy, the feeling of living and fulfilling a successful life. Everything has been taken away from me. I won't ever drink again. I won't take a single step. I won't drive. I won't have kids. Signing the papers on a new house with a Blackpool pen. I've been removed all of these luxuries. And do you know what the worst thing is? When you die, all you're left with is 2 things. One is the never-ending darkness, and the other are just questions. Questions which I cannot answer, and will never be answered. I'm Owen Jr. Roberts, and I was murdered. Death begins, and there's no light at the end of this tunnel. My life is done and dusted. I am gone. Dave did a wonderful job at the press conference. I remained silent at the back of the room. Hearing a detailed account of how my son was murdered left me silent. I could not utter a single word. The fact a twisted, vile human being had the audacity of taking my son's final breaths, murdering him in cold blood, and then raping a deceased corpse before leaving his body on a single tree for his father who placed his son at the scene of the crime, to then find him broken and botched. I mean, how the hell can I sleep at night? This was a tough week. I find my son murdered on the Thursday. We hold a press conference on the Saturday. And on the Sunday, it was time to go home and reveal to my wife, June Roberts, to come clean about this whole situation. When June found out about Owen Jr., the night of his murder, her world fell apart. And I had to build up the courage over the subsequent days to tell her everything and anything about this. It's safe to say that this conversation did not go down well. June, quite frankly, and quite rightly, blamed me for the murder, calling me every single swear word you can think of, including ones which I think she actually and actively made up, but they still sounded horrendous. I knew after that conversation, my marriage was over. June was never ever going to forgive me for this. I could see it in her eyes, feel it from the vocal attack she launched on me, culminating being thrown out of the house, her wedding ring being yanked off her finger, and smacked down onto the floor by the door before slamming that door shut. I moved into Dave's home for the next few weeks. This was the time to focus on the next stage of my life, but before I could start to piece my life together, I had 2 things to sort out first. The first task was to find my son's killer. The second task was to ensure that internet safety was heightened and to send a public message to the people. Rightly or wrongly, Owen Jr.'s murder was a perfect story to kickstart a campaign highlighting the dangers of using the internet, a stranger danger campaign. On August 16th, 2018, 2 weeks after the murder, and after creating countless pages and evidence to support the campaign, I held my own press conference. It was time for me to take to the stand and begin the Murdered by a Username campaign. Murdered by a Username campaign press conference. August 16th, 2018, 1800 PM. Good evening, everyone. My name is Owen Senior Roberts. As many of you know, my son Owen Junior Roberts was murdered by an unknown attacker. He was beaten to death, raped after being killed, and then left to rot in the woods. This was a random attack, with no motive, no justification to murder, and there are so many unanswered questions. The murderer is a random person. They could be male or female, young or old. But for now they're completely unknown, leaving no traces, causing us to have very little leads on this case. What I will say is that Owen Junior Roberts was involved in his own case. He was going to the beach to meet a username called the Account 01. Owen Junior believed this person was a young girl, looking for love, who he'd spent the previous 4 days talking to before meeting up. What Owen Junior doesn't know is that this account was controlled by me. We had created the task of lowering an unsuspected child to the beach and then publishing the story to the public simply to raise awareness, highlighting the dangers of social media and the internet. We'd called this experiment Murdered by a Username. My son was the unfortunate victim in this experiment, and the twist of this is that he was actually murdered by another username, so to speak, on his way to meet someone he had chatted to for just 4 days. Owen didn't check who he was speaking to. Owen left himself wide open. Owen placed himself in extreme danger, and although this was a stage setup, we had the power to do anything to him. And yes, Owen Junior Roberts lost his life for a separate reason, but the dangerous actions he took should be a harsh wake-up call to all young people and the parents of everyone and anyone that is using the internet. The internet is a wonderful place, full of new stories, amazing possibilities, and it is truly amazing to be able to connect with others all around the world from the comfort of your own home and on any particular device which has internet access. If you're cut away from the world, you are not alone. You have a place, and the internet is the gateway in between. This doesn't mean you are excluded from risk. The internet has an extreme dark side. It's crawling with criminals, predators, rapists, murderers, and individuals with sick and twisted agendas. Children and young people are at the centre of these targets. So I simply must state a simple message to all parents and young people. Please, please, please be responsible online and ensure that you know who is sitting on the other end of that screen. Take simple, basic, common sense measures to keep yourself safe. Obtain proof from the person you believe you are speaking to. Do not meet any stranger without an adult you trust. Alongside you keeping all your personal information safe and secure behind that front page. Make sure you are 100%, not 90%, not 95%. Make sure that you are 100% certain that you know who you are talking to online, and to be sensible in the things you say and the things you do, and the way that you conduct yourself online. I have now created the Murder by a Username campaign to raise awareness of internet safety and the dangers of social media, and in honour of my son, we can now save lives by highlighting these dangers. Finally, I will not rest until Owen Junior's killer is brought to justice. I am going to find you, and you will be punished for your horrendous, sadistic, vile crime. I urge the killer to come forward and face the consequences of his actions. Thank you. Come forward? Fuck off! The Murdered by my Username campaign? Fucking hell. I murdered a copper's son. Talk about passing the ultimate assignment with fucking flying colours. Am I scared of the police? No. Am I worried about my future? No. Do I feel sad for poor Owen Jr. and his stupid fucking family? No. I know that I won't be caught. I know that I will get away with this crime. And I know we will move on to bigger and bolder crimes going forward. I've got no remorse, no heart, no warm fuzzy feeling towards my actions. And I certainly won't be facing the consequences of my actions. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that's the beauty of the internet. That's the thing I love about the internet. You can be whoever you want, whenever you want. You can hide away from the world and become a shadow running and running, never to be found, never exposed to the true darkness that runs in the world. We create the darkness, but we do not pay for the darkness. We will only get stronger on the dark web. Our crimes will only get worse, and we will never ever pay for what we've done. I plan to murder again. Let's say I plan to murder more people, many more usernames. I'm just getting fucking started. All in a good day's work, folks. I'm going to go onto the internet. Over the next few weeks, the Murder by a Username campaign continued to create conversations on internet safety and social media. These campaigns get everybody communicating and thinking, but the sad reality of this is that after weeks, even months, everybody forgets about that one child who was murdered and was involved in a stranger danger case. People just go back to their mundane lives. They only care, like really care, if they're affected directly, and by then it's just all too late. All we can do is inform, discuss and make people aware of these dangers and issues. It's up to them to take the next step. I received a lot of criticism from parents who sang from the same hymn sheet as June. They blamed me and the team for Owen Jr.'s death, while a small minority just said that we were unlucky, and some of them said that their heart bled for me. You can't understand the feeling of losing a child until you actually lose a child. It's unusual for a parent to bury their child. It goes against the foundations of the world. Life carries on. The world keeps spinning around and we move on. The campaign always remains there, and Owen Jr.'s legacy lives on. The reality of this is that Owen Jr. Robert's death completely ripped through and destroyed my family. I lost my son, my marriage ended, and now I live alone, continuing my job and taking every single day as it comes. I get the good days, I feel the bad days, but I'll never be the same. The investigation into Owen's death rages on. It's been a few months now, and we've had a few little leads, but no major breakthrough. I can't promise you that things will get better, and I'm unclear as to what my future will hold, but I can promise you one thing, and this thing is as clear as day. I will not rest until I find my son's killer. I will hunt them down, I will find them, and I'll make them pay for the day that they took my son from this world. They will be punished for their actions. The internet may have taken Owen Jr., but I can use the internet to find his killer. I will do whatever it takes to find the murderer. However long it takes, I'm going to find them. A short story written by Stephen Bagley. Thank you for listening. This world is a home.